All right, here we are. Brand new day. Live from Fly on the Wall Productions. Raylene, you gonna get me a cup of coffee or what?
No, you can get your own goddamn coffee.
What? What?
You heard me.
What did you say?
Get your own goddamn coffee.
Why? What? We're live,
I don't.
honey.
I don't care if we're live or not.
All right, whatever. Happy feel
Let's
good.
not change anything.
Is it Thursday yet? Is it Thursday? I think it is Thursday. Jack, grab a seat over there, pal. We're going to be chatting with you. Jack Attack Sports this morning. We've got Aaron Johnson with us. Oh, my God. Joe Altsworth is going to be with us here because today we are going to be setting some record temperatures with the heat. It is going to be a scorcher. We'll see if we can get Joe on this morning.
Yeah, I'm not
Good
your
morning,
bitch, JD.
Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
We're all right. Tell us, today we're supposed to be setting a record. I think it's supposed to be, I've heard 89, I've heard 93, I've heard 105. The bottom line is it's going to be super hot today, and no question about it.
It is. Actually, I'm going to say hello to Raylene first. I heard her in the background.
Joe
Good morning.
saying hi to you.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah, say hi.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we're supposed to be in the 90s. You know how it goes in Vermont. It could be a couple degrees above, a couple degrees below, but it'll be 90, 91 today.
Okay. So we're definitely Roger Hill is saying it's if we can top 88 in Burlington, we're going to break the record. So for this particular date, June 1st, by the way, welcome to the start of the month. But so what are we? You said representing Barrie City Fire Department and whatnot and public safety. We've got some cooling shelters in place here in the Granite City.
Yep. The library is our designated cooling shelter. It'll be open the whole time during its normal hours. There are some churches that are open their doors and providing lunch and some snacks, some water. So,
all right. Important, Joe, to stay hydrated, and we have said this. We say this during big snowstorms. We say this during heat waves, just to check on your neighbors, especially if they are elderly. Just make sure they're okay. If they don't have air conditioning, especially, and that they're drinking plenty of water. You guys get a lot of calls, a lot of paramedic calls for people that are dehydrated when we get a heat snap like this, right?
yeah, EMS calls tend to go up either the second or third day. People are pretty hardy. They'll weather the first day pretty good. They'll get a breather that night, and then usually the second day, halfway through it, or the nighttime, they tend to struggle. We have an older population here in the city, and so that becomes an issue with them. A lot of people remain their windows shut or live on a second or third floor apartment, and they just don't have that ability to open their windows or be able to. So it's really important that we reach out to them and see what they need and just check on them. Hydration is important. Moderation in the water. You'll have to alternate between water and some sort of electrolyte. The Gatorades are great, but just don't do one altogether. You have to have a little variety. Your body sweats out salt, which you really need for your metabolism to stay balanced. And so if you don't, then you develop either heat cramps, heat exhaustion. People could faint from it. Or ultimately they may end up in the ER with with some sort of heat emergency illness. Heat stroke is probably the worst thing for them to be able to get, because during heat stroke you stop sweating, and that's important because you sweat because it regulates your body's temperature. So that's a way of you dissipating heat. Even in the wintertime, that's how when you sweat, your head gets hot and it radiates out. It's the same way. So make sure you wear, sunscreen and wear a hat. Try to stay in the shade. Gauge your activities around the afternoon so that you can take it easy and seek some shelter and coolness. And make sure that you always have something to drink.
Yeah, when you say have something to drink, you're not talking about a cold beer either, necessarily. You save that for the end of the day. You're in the shade and you're feeling good and you're feeling fine. But during the day, especially if you're going to be out working, man, I mean, it's like, think about all the people that, like Jason Gauthier this morning from Gauthier's Quality Grounds and Maintenance, one of our sponsors, out mowing lawns early this morning.
He's planning his day appropriately so that he's not caught in the middle of that and himself and his employees are taxed. That's smart business right there.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure the fluids are going in and the fluids are coming out. Whether you're peeing, you're sweating, whatever it may be, it's so important.
Your pee is huge, and you hit it just right. If you look at the color of your pee, if it's clear, you're in the clear. If it's starting to turn colors, then you're peeing out your electrolytes, and the darker that it gets, the more taxing it is on your kidneys. So just to go back to having a beverage around the fire at night, especially during a hot day, you probably shouldn't hydrate with the alcohol tonight, and should really limit that on the other end, because we have 1 more or 2 more days of this coming up, and you gotta prepare your body for the next day, and it's pretty stressful on your body right now. So
yeah, and then we're supposed to get some possibly a cool front coming in Friday with some storms. Roger Hill saying the potential for some pretty strong storms Friday into Friday afternoon, maybe Friday night into early Saturday morning. And we're talking like a 20-degree difference for the weekend into the 60s. And by I think Sunday, Monday, we might be making like 60, 65 for a daytime high. Wow.
Who knows? You might end up getting a frost and maybe an inch of snow too in a couple of weeks. So
hey, speaking of snow, and I shit you not, Joe, they are skiing this morning on Killington. The lifts opened. One lift opened 8 minutes ago at 9 o'clock on Killington. They're actually skiing on Killington this morning. Not kidding.
Those people are like bragging rights. You see them, they're like their bikinis and their speedos.
Well, that's it. Yes.
Just imagine wiping out and all the scrapage you end up having doing that. I'm good.
No, yeah, I'm the same way, but listen, I appreciate you so much, Joe. Also, don't be an asshole and keep your dog in the car today, tomorrow, any day. You guys get so many calls about people leaving their pets in cars. Even 5 or 10 minutes can kill an animal.
Yeah, I mean that the temperature rises exponentially, and you should play that video on your website too that we did, because it's quite an eye opener. I mean, just because you crack the window doesn't mean it controls the heat.
Right.
Those furry pets have extra layer or two, and they don't sweat as well as we do. So we got to make sure that they're taken care of, because they have unconditional love for us, and we should have the same for them.
Yeah. No question about it. Well said. We appreciate you, my friend, so much.
Just one thing I wanted to touch base on is that we are having a little dry period, and we really need to watch out what we're burning.
That's right. Humidity is very, very low today. Temperature's up, humidity is low, and that's a great point. This is probably not a good time. We haven't had rain in a while. Not a good time to have that 15-foot bonfire in the backyard.
Yeah, no, I mean, things a little dry. The river's a little low, and we had a really good beginning of May, but we're paying for all this great sunshine. So don't be surprised if we shut down burning in the city here in the next few days, unless we get a substantial rainfall on Friday. It's just be smart about it. We've had a couple of humdingers here, one in Northfield, just up from my house, and like I said, it burnt between 3 and 5 acres, and when you get up on the mountain, it's a little harder for the firefighters to get up there. That took a lot of departments and a lot of manpower to bring that under control. And so, just remember, there's always a cause and effect from what you do. For every choice you make, there's either a good or a bad one. So.
Yeah, great point. And speaking of fire, the air quality right now is quite poor. Roger Hill's been talking about this. The fires in Nova Scotia and in Western Canada, bringing fine particle smog into parts of the United States. And I don't know if you got a chance to see that sunset last night, dropping behind Camel's Hump, but it was absolutely spectacular. And part of the reason why that sunset last night was so beautiful is because of this smog from these wildfires out in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, that particulates from the smoke, especially coming from Prince Edward Island there, it comes drops down right on us. And those folks with breathing difficulties, COPDers, and the elderly that don't have the lung capacities, they really suffer because, it's just like a small, fine pollen that comes through. And don't be surprised when you get in your vehicles in the morning that it's covered with a little rough layer of dust, and you're going like, wow, where'd that come from?
Right.
That's soot in the air settling.
Definitely not snow. Thanks, Joe.
All right, buddy.
We appreciate you so much, bud. Stay well.
Right.
Stay cool.
Call anytime. You too.
Joe Altsworth, our deputy chief, busy guy. And Jason Gauthier out this morning, getting started early, mowing and just weed whacking.
Because I don't really feel like doing it today.
He was at my house this morning at like 7:30 and just had the weed whacker going. And we were all up and rock and rolling, but still, I mean, getting an early jump on it for sure.
I'll probably wait until tomorrow. I'll tell you the truth. I don't feel like doing it today. I'm serious.
Raylene, just tell us briefly what's going on with, and we're going to introduce our guests here and stuff. We got to get to Jack Attack Sports, but what's going on Monday? What's this that you were sharing on
Monday? There
Facebook?
is going to be a special meeting, 5:00 at City Hall Chambers, and we invite everyone to come, please, to weigh in on where they think the homeless should be able to camp within the city. And some of the suggestions that have been brought out, I'm not going to lie, really piss me off. Mm-hmm. For me, the Hope Cemetery, any cemetery, is absolutely off limits.
Well, why would we allow camping in our?
I don't know, but
we have a homeless.
we pay a lot of money for those sites, thousands of dollars, and my mom thousands of dollars for her stone, and it's I don't want shower trailers, porta potties, and tents all over the cemetery.
Larry Loescher's with us.
We got to figure out a new way.
Can you hear us, Larry?
That's not it.
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you catching this? Are you listening to this?
Well, I was, and then all of a sudden, my phone just rang.
Yeah. I mean, did you hear what Raylene was just saying?
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to turn. I was actually just watching your video, and then all of a sudden, my phone rings, and I'm trying to shut you off so I can answer the phone. Was that you, JD? That's obviously you.
Yes, it is. It is. Larry Loescher. You are very privy to what's going on with the situation, and you're very involved with other landlords who are speaking up about the homeless situation. Yesterday was phase 1 of getting people out of the hotels, and I think the end of June will be phase 2. Raylene, repeat that one more time for Larry so he can hear what you were just saying.
5:00, City Hall Chambers on the 5th, and we are going to be discussing where in the city to camp. And some of the suggestions by some of the councils so far have been the cemeteries, the cow pasture, and the parks.
Hmm.
And the planning commission is involved with this.
Well, we've been invited. It's a meeting of the Planning Commission, the Housing Task Force, and the Cow Pasture Committee.
Larry, what say you about all this?
What's my view of all this?
Yeah.
My view is we need to start thinking about helping the landlords a little more, or give the landlords more rights. And JD, I really wanted to sit down and talk to you first before being put on the air like this.
Well, we can still do that, Larry. Let's have a coffee or a beer, man. Let's shoot the shit on it for sure. But
yeah. But I think we really need to sit down, because I've been a landlord now, JD, for 36 years.
yeah,
It's a tough business. It's demanding. It's like you've got your regular job, then you got your landlording business. And I worked 2 jobs, basically, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day for years and years. Now, after 36 years of doing this, it's been good, but I've worked very hard at it.
yeah.
So, I've learned every aspect of the business as far as the maintenance and management goes. And now it's kind of a bigger thing for me now. The thing is, what I see happening is landlords need help as much as the tenants. And I think because of the state policies, all these advocates for the tenants are helping the tenants and they're fighting for them, but they're not looking at who is feeding or who's providing housing for these tenants. And we are just not even acknowledged. And the other thing is, we don't get any help at all. I mean, there's money out there to help us fix our buildings up. Don't get me wrong. As far as that goes, but the deal is, we really need to sit down, JD, and I want to maybe have a couple other landlords that can shore up what I'm saying, or what I feel that needs to be done. One of the things is we need to revamp this eviction process. Landlords are losing their shirt. They're getting beat to death. They're losing properties. It's one thing for a tenant to lose a apartment, but can you imagine owning a building for 20 years and losing your building because of one tenant and eviction process? And this is, JD, this is what's going on.
Yeah. It goes all the way to the legislature. I mean, it's a state of Vermont thing. If you go up 40,000 feet, that's the origins of the problem here, Larry. I'm sure you would agree.
Oh, absolutely. I've been down to the legislatures. I've testified, and when you've got just a couple of landlords that are trying to change things, but then all of a sudden you've got all these advocates for tenants and other state housing authorities, and you know what? We just don't have a voice. So I think that things need to change, because obviously the road we have been going down is not working. And I believe that if we could revamp this eviction process so it gives a landlord a right to get rid of a deplorable tenant that is destroying the place, they're not paying the rent. And JD, believe me, I have several stories to tell. I have landlords' names. I have properties I can show you. I know the story because I was very involved at one time trying to stop the landlord abuse. And unfortunately, it's the bad tenants, that the deplorable ones that are doing this, is raising havoc for all the good, all the other tenants.
Sure.
Landlords just can't afford to take a chance on, more than likely tenants that would work out. But because of the eviction process being so brutal, we just can't. It's just not something that we can do. So that's what I'd like to sit down. I'd like to talk to you about this, and thank you so much for calling me, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, we should definitely do that. And, I've got a growing list of microphones here at the studio. So we've got plenty of microphones. I think I think we should chew the fat over this a little bit.
Well,
off the air,
JD,
and then maybe get some landlords in here and air this shit out, man.
The thing is, JD, there is plenty of housing in Barrie. There are property owners that have duplexes. They do not rent the other side of their house because of the horror stories and how, being stuck with a tenant they can't get, because the tenants have legal aid fighting for them. They have other advocates, and it's putting landlords out of business, and it's hurting everybody. So like I said, I've been at this business for 36 years. I think I know what I'm talking about. I started a Vermont landlord group. We're up to 360 members. And matter of fact, I just put something out this morning about, do you believe that if we change the eviction laws, if we did that, would there be so many homeless people, or there wouldn't be? And they all agreed.
Yeah.
Well, so far they've all agreed.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, Larry, and we're going to do this sooner than later here, as soon as possible. And I would love to have you in the studio as well, if we can.
Yeah, I look forward to it. We'll have to make a plan.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for hopping on with us this morning, Larry.
Yeah, anytime.
All right,
Thank you.
You got it. We're going to chat with Jack here in just a second, but don't forget the open house is coming up day after tomorrow, Saturday, June 3rd, from 11 to 2 over on Peyton Lane at Beckley Hill Meadows. Raylene and I were over there broadcasting live the other day. The place is absolutely, this home over there is absolutely beautiful. Central Vermont's newest.
Did you talk your wife into it yet?
I haven't told her that I put the deposit down on this house. Yeah.
Okay.
Central Vermont's newest residential development, Beckley Hill Meadows, is absolutely amazing. Infecto Homes is, frankly, just kicking ass. That whole area is just so beautiful. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, right around 1,400 square feet, attached 2-car garage, side deck, walkout basement. It's amazing. And they're going to be doing another open house.
Right next door.
Right next door. So get over there on Saturday from 11 till 2. And I'm telling you, you won't believe what you're going to see. Jack, good morning, buddy. How are you? And what do you have for us this morning?
I need to see Jack.
Put
him on the camera. Is he on the camera?
Yeah, he's on the camera right now.
I got to see the hair today.
Yeah, no, his hair's good.
You did a good job
Yeah, you
today,
did a great
Jack.
job.
Oh, my God, you did.
Mighty Meow, too.
Yeah.
Honey, you got up and you brushed your hair. I'm impressed.
I swear I didn't run a brush through it. It's just how I woke up.
Uh-huh.
Jack,
Anything.
Little beauty queen over there.
are you doing all right, man?
Yeah, I mean, I got Mighty Meow right next to me, and
Yeah.
it's a great morning. Beautiful day. I
Has
woke
she
up.
been talking your ear off over there?
Yeah, it won't leave me alone when I'm trying to do my thing.
You can love up to Mighty Meow. Yeah, there you go. You give some love. She's not going to bite you.
Not yet.
What do you have in sports, pal?
Yeah, so starting with kind of like the Boston area, Massachusetts area. So Celtics lost in 7 games to the Miami Heat. And that means that Miami is going to be playing the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals.
You're upsetting Raylene right now. Go ahead.
I don't even know who he's talking
I know
about.
that.
So,
They're playing tonight. So the first game of the NBA Finals will be tonight at 8:30.
All right.
except I know that Shep wants the Nuggets in by 6.
Is that what she said last night?
Yeah.
Did you see Laurie Shepard's podcast last night?
No, I've
Jack,
been
I'm
too
gonna
busy
come
with
over there and
tennis.
Beat your ass.
JD, tell that to my tennis coach. He had us doing a 2-hour practice last night.
He needs to lighten up, pal. It's too hot for this shit. Swinging this racket around with this
I know.
rubber
I was
ball
drenched.
around it. Come on. Let's get serious now. Go ahead. I'm interrupting.
So then with the MLB, the Red Sox lost yesterday to the Reds 5-4, but they still maintain a winning record. Remember at the beginning I was talking a lot of trash about them. They've actually turned it around.
do.
Winning record 28-27. They're hanging on.
Yeah.
And then NFL big news. Tom Brady, there's rumors he may
Yeah, go ahead.
he may return to the league.
No
There's talks.
What a
way.
bunch of shit. Go ahead.
Really?
He apparently bought the majority stake in the Las Vegas Raiders, so he's like an owner, and they're taking a vote, I believe, tomorrow night to decide if owners can also be a part of the team on
Stop
the
it.
roster. So there's
Stop
talk
it.
that Tom Brady may join the Las Vegas Raiders and be the owner. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't believe it. But I think he's retired. Just let the man.
Just let. How old is he?
What, like almost? He's got to be 40, right? He's got to
I
be.
don't. How old is he? 40 something?
Shall I look
No
it up?
clue.
Yeah, look it up.
right.
You know, I could look it up,
All right, yeah.
but Jack's 18. Any shit that he looks up is going to be a third of the speed that I'm going to look something up.
I already have it if you,
You
want
know
me to
that.
say it.
Yeah, go ahead. See?
He's
What'd I say?
45.
45.
He was born in 1977.
All right. So he's 45 years old.
Yeah.
Come on. This is
He's
ridiculous.
still a baby.
Hang up the helmet.
Yeah,
Just get on with
he's
it.
gonna get destroyed by some men. Wait.
Yes.
Let me
Did you say men?
rephrase that.
Yeah,
He's
please.
gonna, he's 45. He's old and brittle,
Yeah.
and
I'm going to come over there and kick your ass myself.
and he can't take some more beating. He doesn't want CTE or any brain trauma.
Right.
Just, you made all your money. Just hang up the. Cleats.
Just go play around on your private island with your beautiful girlfriends and just shut up.
Exactly.
Anything else in sports?
Yeah, well, I got a lot of local stuff actually.
Yeah, please.
So I think everyone at Spalding actually won their first round of playoffs. Boys baseball won 9-0, and they're headed to the semifinals. They beat Lamoille. Girls softball won an extremely close game. Shout out to Becca McKelvey. Rebecca McKelvey.
Grand slam.
Yeah, grand slam and 2 other home runs.
Wow.
3 home runs in one game to win against the do we call them Crosstown or, U32? I don't know what
yeah,
they.
yeah.
Crosstown, kind of the Crosstown rivals.
Works for me.
Yeah, and Becca McKelvey hit 3 home runs, one being a grand slam. So big shout out to her.
Jesus. When did this happen?
I believe it was Wednesday. It was the
Wow.
same day as my tennis match. So, insane
last night.
game. Then boys lacrosse won their playoff game, and they're actually their lower seed. So huge, big upset for them. They won by I believe 3 goals, 11 to 8.
Okay.
So big game, especially because they were on the road, so they had to go to the opponents because they were the lower seed.
Right.
So a huge win for them. Then girls lacrosse won 21-7 in their playoff game, and big shout out to Hallie Allen. I believe I'm saying that name right. She scored her 100th career high school goal.
Shep was talking about this last night.
Yeah. So big shout out to her. 100 career goals.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then for me, real quick, we won our tennis playoff matches, and that's why I haven't been on recently. I've just been so busy with tennis. We've been winning so much.
Nice job, Jack.
Thank you.
Be careful of your knees, pal. You could blow a meniscus out real fast.
I know.
with
I've been
tennis.
trying to get the ice showers going, the cold showers, cold baths.
Keep the inflammation down.
Yeah. And then I do have something about the Lake Monsters.
Yeah.
They actually won yesterday, 13-4. I still don't know a lot about the Lake Monsters and the Mountaineers, so I'd like to do some more research on
Well,
them.
Brian Gallagher, who is the general manager of the Mountaineers, is going to be in here a week from tomorrow.
No joke.
Yeah, I can't remember if he's going to be in studio or by phone, but we're going to have him on because the season's starting up here. I think the first home game is the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. But it's going to be a great year for some baseball.
For sure.
Yeah. Is that pretty much it for you?
That's about all I
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, no problem.
Listen, I'm dying for you to stick around and hear this guy who's
got. Yeah, I'd love to give him a listen.
sitting next.
Crazy balloonist, right?
Well, that would be.
This is the guy that you were cussing out because you thought he was going to kill you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought he was up. I thought he was part of the Chinese.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Remember that?
Yes,
Yes.
I do.
That he
Yeah.
was up-
The morning on your way into work.
Yeah,
when you
he
first
scared
saw
you
him.
shitless.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
You were wearing your tinfoil hat and
You
everything.
remember
Yes.
Jack will tell you.
Right. So who's the crazy one, really? Right,
This
Jack?
bastard right here.
Yeah. No.
Who's
JD.
going ballooning in February? Was it January or February? I think it was February.
February.
Who's doing that? Who?
It was a
Aaron.
cold ass
Seriously,
day. Too, I believe.
have you ever, and I ask you this, Raylene, too, and Jack, have you ever seen a hot air balloon in the dead of the winter? Who's doing that? I only see hot air balloons during the summer, not during the winter.
I can't say I have seen.
But he says it's dangerous to fly in the summer.
I know. We've learned.
So, hey.
Oh my God, Aaron, how are you?
Balloonist, man.
We are so honored to. You're a goddamn rock star, buddy. I mean, we worship
about
you.
a rock star.
We talk about you all the time here. We worship you. This past winter, Sherilyn was driving Lily into school. I think it was in February, and started freaking out that there was a hot air balloon, and I was like, impossible.
You called me and said, "Can you see it from where you are? You have to get shots of this."
Right. And I was like, how is this possible? And this was all, well, the whole Chinese balloon thing was fresh in the news. So we come into the studio. I'm tripping and stumbling all over myself to get on the microphone and tell everyone, look up in the sky. And
And he was already 30 miles the other direction
I know.
at least.
I know.
We had
Or
pretty good
probably
wind
even
speeds.
was when you saw him.
And then people, because they couldn't see this speck in the sky that I'm talking about, then they didn't believe me.
No. They
And they're
did
saying
not.
I'm batshit crazy because there's something floating in the sky in February. So, but thankfully, others took pictures, and the pictures started showing
And
up.
then some knew who it was.
Yeah, and that's how we found out who this guy sitting next to you is, Aaron Johnson. So, I think the biggest question is, why would someone get up at stupid o'clock in February and say, hey, I got a great idea. Let's go up in a hot air balloon up 8,000 feet or so in the dead of winter when it was like 25 degrees outside. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Well, we were thinking of flying from New York to New Hampshire and just flying over Vermont
Isn't that amazing?
because the wind speeds were perfect there, and there's a straight line across.
So you and your buddy Jordan, and we've had you on the air before by phone,
yeah.
both of you.
Yes.
You guys got up super early, went to Crown Point, I think it was,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And the winds are moving from west to east, and you said we're gonna jump up there and see if we can ride across and float across Vermont.
Correct.
And you did. You made it to New Hampshire, right?
Yes. Yeah. Actually landed in one of my old friends' front lawn.
Now, so wow,
That was
So-
not planned either.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you. Can you? I have so many questions, and I've already asked you 100 of them. But can you kind of predict what you're going to do with a hot air balloon?
Yeah, you're gonna go up in the air,
And you're going to go
and
home
then
some
you're
direction.
gonna come down.
Wow. So you have a goal of reaching a certain area. In other words, you can't really drive a hot air balloon.
No.
You can't essentially steer it. But you taught me that you basically have to kind of understand altitude and where certain currents are, and certain currents can be going different directions.
Correct. And there's the hills and valleys, and as the sun heats up the landscape, it creates updrafts or cools off, downdrafts.
Like convection stuff.
Yeah.
This is high school coming back right here. Convection. I remember that word. So that's it. You basically aim for one of these currents and get locked into it and ride it.
Yeah, but they're not predictable. They change at any given moment. And, they can be going west to east wind, and you get into a valley, and they could be going north or going south, or they'll be in circles.
And you've done that too.
Oh yeah.
You've gone around in big circles.
Yes.
Have you, Raylene, I know you have questions, but I'm sorry, I'm just so fascinated. Have you, and we went up in Aaron's balloon the other day, we have to talk about that, but have you ever gone up in a balloon and been like, oh, shit, we're going way too far now. How are we going to get down?
Well, we know how we're going to get down.
Yeah.
It's just how
That's
we're
how
going to
they're
get
gonna
back.
Okay.
The crutch.
Yeah.
The crutch.
What's up with the crutch? Tell us about the crutch.
Well, this is one of Brian's favorite tricks to.
Brian Boland.
Brian Boland.
World famous balloonist.
Yes. Yeah. That's how he would get a ride back. People would be driving even in the opposite direction.
Jack, you listening to this?
And seeing him with a crutch and a little gas can and figuring he's out of gas, they'd turn around and pick him up.
And then he'd. The guy, unbelievable.
Yeah, but then he'd offer him a balloon ride, and
Yeah.
And all was well.
yeah,
Brian Boland, world famous balloonist, lived in the at the Post Mills Airport, right here in Vermont,
yeah,
for I don't know how many years, long time. And he, as we've shared on the story, I met Brian when I was, I don't know, 6 years old, something like that, in Connecticut. He was our neighbor when I was just a little boy, and I think he was in his 20s or something. And built this huge barn next to his house and was in there with sewing machines and weaving baskets and making hot air balloons and testing out the burners and the tanks, and it was like a mad scientist.
Yeah.
He really was. And I was just a little boy. My brother and I were like, who is this neighbor? And he did, he was doing some experimental ballooning. He was a very creative man. He was, his mind, he wasn't just a balloonist. He was an inventor.
yeah.
He was, I can only imagine how many patents he's got, but he was always thinking about pushing the envelope. What can I do next? What can I put in the air? Mm-hmm. Who can I bring in the air? What can I do that's different? And he, from his 20s, was already starting to get recognition from famous balloonists all over the world. This guy is breaking barriers here. He's doing things that are unspeakable.
Yeah, he was also trying to get balloon systems that were super lightweight. And it was always cutting weight down to, you get more lift.
Right.
Like you can lift more people or whatever, and to transport the lightweight stuff to different countries.
Yeah. Right. In a airplane,
Correct.
getting all your shit in a suitcase and getting it to other countries.
Yeah, that basket that we flew in, that's one of his first prototypes of a lightweight basket. And you see the bottom of it was wicker, and then the rest of it is just fabric.
Yeah, fabric
and then conduit. And all that stuff breaks down, and you put your tanks in the basket, and it all folds down on top of it. And it's all sealed in one little package to transport.
How did you meet Brian Boland?
Well, I moved over here from Rutland, and we bought a house. It was basically across the street from the airport, and I saw the balloons, and me being a skydiver, I wanted to jump out of a hot air balloon, so I went and introduced myself.
Batshit. Go ahead, continue.
And I asked him how much he would charge me to take me up in his balloon to let me jump out. And then he says that,
How much could he pay you to do it, right?
he's like, oh, I'd rather become friends with you first. And then I was like, you mean to tell me you'd rather have a friend potentially jump to his death as opposed to somebody you don't know?
Sure.
And then we laughed and became friends after that. And so we did the Vermontosaurus, and
Yes.
and just help him out with odd projects that he came up with, and I'd do balloon chases, and finally one day he allowed me to jump out of his balloon, which I brought the tape, by the way.
You did bring the tape.
Yeah.
All right. Which is, we'll say right now, you're not going to be able to see it today because it's 8mm tape.
Correct.
All right. Where was that? Where was the camera for that?
One of the local kids at the camp came over, and it was my camcorder that I had for my skydiving helmet that he used to film it. It was going to be either me with the camera on my helmet or him filming me leaving the basket.
So which one did you get?
He had it in the basket when I jumped off.
Unbelievable. Poor Jack doesn't even know what a camcorder is. I feel so bad for him. So you and Brian hit it off.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is he passed away. What was it, last summer?
2 summers ago.
2 summers. Wow,
Yeah.
it feels like it was last summer. In a horrible balloon accident. But that's a whole nother thing. But certainly died doing what he loved, and that is somewhat of an understatement. But this guy he comes into this Post Mills Airport and turns it into he was a collector. Some would say hoarder.
Yeah.
Some would say psychopath. Maybe. I mean, he filled this huge barn, if you will, at the Post Mills Airport
Yeah.
with what?
Just stuff. It was funny. We'd be, coming back from the balloon chase, coming back to the airport, and there'd be like free stuff on the side of the road.
Yeah.
He'd have to stop, and the biggest treasures, he called them treasures, would be something that he didn't know what it was, and that's what he had to have. And then he'd bring it to the museum, and then when somebody would come in, and they say, "Oh, that's a such and such." It's like, yes, that's what it is.
And then he would take things and modify them, and often turn them into what?
Something to fly underneath the balloon.
Instead of just your typical straw basket.
Right.
Not straw, but wicker.
Wicker.
And he would have all kinds of things. And he would take like motorcycles or whatever. And with motorcycles, sidecars and stuff. And his goal ultimately was to do what? To fly and then land?
To land and then get back.
On his own.
Yep.
Without having to rely on a chase crew?
Correct.
Or thumbing a ride home or anything. I mean,
Yeah, the crutch took up so much room in the basket. So.
God. Question here: have you ever taken a person up who's afraid of heights?
Quite a few
Yeah.
people.
Quite a few.
Yeah. And,
One of them is sitting next to you.
yeah.
So what's that like? People come to you, and Sherilyn is my wife, listening this morning, petrified, and I've tried if in a few different ways of kind of sliding it in. Oh, Aaron, let's go over and say hi to Aaron and maybe bring him a hot coffee
And
or
she
something.
says, "Why, JD? Why?"
No, she'll look at me and she'll just go, "Fuck off! I know what you're up to. I'm not going up in the balloon." But have people who are afraid of heights come to you and say, "I'm petrified of heights. Will you take me up on a hot air balloon?"
Well, not petrified, because some people, they just can't do it. Even if they go drive across the bridge, they have to close their eyes or
Understand.
whatever. Those type of people, they won't do well. But,
Sure.
I find that people that do say they're afraid of heights and they're okay flying in an airplane absolutely love flying in a balloon.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid of heights.
Stop it. Talk to me.
Well, if I'm working on a roof or on a ladder, that's, it's a different sensation as opposed
Yeah,
to being.
you're still. kind of.
It's
They're
like
not
being
moving.
on an object on a building or something like that, or a cliff, looking over the edge, is where you get the fear of heights. But when you're up in a basket, even skydiving, when the door opens to the plane and you step out of the plane, there's no fear of heights. There's a fear of leaving the plane. But when you're in a balloon basket, I mean, you witness it yourself. It's very peaceful. You're secure mostly.
Yeah. There's a giant misconception, I think, that people have that that you're going to fall, you're going to free fall out of a balloon, and it's such a different experience. It's so. And Glenn is asking you, Raylene, if it was a scary experience for you.
At first, I mean, when we first left the ground, I was a little intimidated just because I didn't know, what was going to happen, or what to expect, if the balloon was going to move a lot.
Yeah.
Like, when you're going up the ski lift and you have some asshat sitting with you that's going to swing the thing the whole time or something.
Exactly.
I had no idea, and you are an asshat, so I had no idea what you were going to be like in this basket with me either. And so I was a little bit nervous, but it was very easy to just calm down, relax, and enjoy it, and move around, like turn around. I was fine.
The perspective of the landscape and your surroundings almost immediately changes. I mean, even 100 feet up, everything just, I don't know, it's weird. It just changes.
Most people find it peaceful. Once you get up and you just start floating, and it's therapeutic.
Extremely therapeutic, yeah. Do you go up often by yourself?
Yeah, I went up this morning.
Come on.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
And still got here in time.
I know, that's amazing. Where'd you go?
Up.
Yes, this is true.
I didn't go anywhere. There was like zero wind.
So you just went up?
Just went up, floated around a little bit, and then came back down.
Came down.
Yeah.
Have you you've told us before, but I want you to tell others things that Brian has taught you, times where you've had to be creative with your strategizing of how to slow down. Mother Nature, weather is super unpredictable, and I've sailed most of my life, and there's some similarities here. Things can change quickly. But what has Brian taught you about that skills that you have learned from him? And you told me he almost kind of seemed like he didn't want to teach you too much because he didn't want to let all the tricks out of the bag.
Yeah, well, the trees are your friends.
Isn't that amazing?
When the wind picks up and you're going fast, you kind of pick out your landing spot, and you get down low, and as you come in, you start brushing the trees, and then you can grab onto the trees and hold yourself there. As your balloon moves forward, then it'll swing off, and then you just come on the other side of the trees and drop down to the ground. And then you're sheltered from the wind once you're on the other side of the trees.
Once you're on the other side.
Yeah. And you can actually take, hand over hand and pull yourself into a spot. Like if you're too far left or right, you can pull yourself in and then let go, and you'll drop down in.
And you've got a couple of trees around the Post Mills Airport that those are kind of go-tos if I need some braking. Those are some good, like that big ass pine tree on the.
Yeah. Well, it's you can't predict where you're going to go.
Yeah.
So you can't say that that's my go-to tree when I'm going the other direction.
Sure, right. Can you steer a balloon at all? Are there any flaps or any kind of bevels or something that?
On some balloons, they have turning vents.
Okay.
You can actually just turn to rotate. You can't actually steer it or turn it, but it'll rotate the balloon. And those are mostly and like the chariots or cloud hoppers they call them, where you got a seat you're sitting in, and you want to be, there's no basket. You're just sitting in a seat, so your feet are exposed, and you want to land face forward.
Darlene's saying, what about the tree by the girls' camp? There's a tree over by the girls' camp, apparently. I don't know. Darlene.
I don't know.
Darlene's asking about that. Maybe that's, I don't know. A couple of famous trees.
Yeah, I think Brian has actually landed on the raft out there in front of the girls' camp.
It's amazing. So have you done, what do you call them, bucket dumps or whatever you call it, where you
Splash and dash. Yeah.
Splash and dash.
Yes.
You've done that.
Yes.
Where you touch down in a lake or pond or whatever.
Yes. Well, during the balloon meet, I was able to do a splash and dash in Lake Fairleigh and then fly over into Lake Morey and do another splash and dash in Lake Morey.
Incredible. Have you, and of course, what is it, Lake Morey, that's right next to the Post Mills Airport?
Lake Fairleigh.
Lake Fairleigh. Have you had one time where things went a little unpredicted with your splash and dash? Tell us about it.
Well, you got to pay attention to your altitude and your descension
Where do you hear this, Jack?
Water temp.
and water temperature. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I had a issue with my parachute top. It wasn't. It was receding when it shouldn't have been, and I was paying more attention to that than I was where we were in the air.
The parachute top is the inside of the balloon.
Yeah, that
At
holds
the very top.
Yeah, and it allows you to, when you pull the vent line, it allows the hot air to escape, so you can go down.
Right. But if you have it taut, then it sits up tight against the top of the balloon.
It seals.
It seals all the hot air in.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
So I was playing with that, pulling it down, releasing it, pulling it down, and releasing it back. And all of a sudden I see the tree line going by me, and I looked down and it was too late, and I started burning, and then we ended up hitting the water and went up. It was waist deep for me, but my buddy was chest deep, and he started floating out of the basket, and I had to push
So his
him
buddy
back.
was a lot like your stature.
I had to push him back down in the basket until we bounced back up into the air. And this was in the end of November.
Oh! End of November.
Yep.
So, and some folks on the lake,
Oh, yeah.
what was their reaction to this?
Oh, it was a big standing ovation, cheering.
Right, they thought you were doing it on purpose. There he is
I meant
doing
to do
tricks
that.
out there.
Yeah, you meant to do that. So what would have? So obviously you were able to get enough hot air in there to get enough lift to pull out of there,
Yes. Yeah.
which is a tremendous amount of water. Is so heavy, I can't imagine.
Yeah. Well, you saw the basket. The water just leaks right back out of it.
Yeah, that's. Were you a little nervous?
Well, not really. I mean, I knew we were going to get wet, and I knew we'd come right back out of it. But
Yeah.
I was just trying to keep my friend in the basket so I wouldn't go
Right.
to outer space.
So you didn't have to. So you didn't get a nosebleed getting to outer space. Have you ever been scared?
Well, I've had a few issues where I got a little exciting.
Okay. How so? Can you share one with us?
Well, when the winds pick up and unexpectedly, and when you're coming into land,
What do we call that again? You have a term for that.
speedy landing.
Speedy or sporty?
Sporty.
Sporty landing. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, just getting prepared to, for basically a crash landing. And what'll happen is you'll hit and you'll flop over and you'll get drugged for a ways.
What do you do at that point? Do you just kind of
Just ride it out.
You
Just
stay in the
stay
goddamn basket, though.
Yeah, and then pull the vent line and let it cool off and empty out, and then you'll stop.
eventually?
Hopefully before the trees.
You might cuss a lot.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the experience of jumping out of Brian Boland's balloon skydiving. But first, tell us about Jordan. Who the hell's Jordan, and how did you guys meet? And is he becoming a balloon junkie like you?
Well, I think he's more so of a balloon junkie than I am.
Really?
Yeah, but we were both trained by Brian Boland, and
There you go.
he was one of his students, and he would spend the summer there, living at the airport, and flying and doing all these odd creations that Brian had.
Yeah.
And that's how I met him. I lived across the street, so I'd go over there and help out. I would do the chases that when Jordan was doing his flight training, I would chase for those guys. And then after, we'd go take a boat out and have to talk about the flight as we float around the lake. And then when we were done with that, then we'd go start building whatever we had project was going on.
Wow. And you guys became great friends.
Yeah.
And he was with you in the basket, in the balloon when we saw you this winter.
Yes. Yep.
Going from again
Crown Point,
all the way to
Piermont, New Hampshire.
Piermont, New Hampshire.
When JD thought that he saw a UFO with
It
aliens.
was either the UFO or it was the Chinese taking pictures. It was
You
one
were
of the
so
two.
convinced.
One
You
of
were
the two.
so convinced.
You must have froze your nads off, bud. Both of you up there.
No, not really. You dress for it, just like going out in a snowmobile.
Yeah.
It did get warm in there, though.
Well, they've got how much propane and whatever, but still.
And the burner does give off some heat that kind of comes down around.
Wow.
But usually your extremities, your fingers and toes get cold.
All right, so it was like 20-something degrees that morning. Have you been in a balloon when it's been colder than that?
Yeah, I flew with I flew with Brian when it was 32 below.
Ugh. No.
Here in Vermont?
Yes, at Post Mills.
At Post Mills.
Yep.
So how does the balloon react differently when I would think, that's too cold for ballooning for whatever reason. I don't know. Is it more sensitive? Because there's more of a variance in temperature?
It's more fuel efficient because it doesn't take as much heat to rise. But the only problem is that the pressure in the propane is way down. So you either got to heat the tank or pressurize it with nitrogen.
Oh.
So you have more pressure.
What about when it's 90 degrees outside, the sun's beaming down?
Then you can't fly.
Why?
Because the top of the envelope would be too hot and the fabric would start to get to a point where it get melting and deteriorating.
Because it's dealing with the outside temperature,
Yeah.
which is whatever, 90, whatever, and then the inside temperature of the balloon.
Right. Because you don't want the balloon to get much over 230 degrees.
So, bottom line, in layman's, the chute wouldn't seal up tight enough. Kind of.
No, it would seal up.
It would
but
seal up.
It would just take a lot more heat to make it rise as opposed
To
to
make it rise. Wow. That's amazing. So, balloons typically go up sun up and sundown.
Right.
Sundown, you've got a window against daylight,
Yes.
whereas in the morning you're not fighting that too much.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy more and why?
In the mornings, it's less stressful because you're not on a time limit. So, but there again, you got in the mornings and evenings is where the winds are the most calm.
Right.
And as the sun comes out, it creates. I can't think.
Oh, just
thermals.
Thermals. Yeah.
Thermals, yeah. So you got to watch out for that. And then the wind, when the thermals start happening, then you get wind directions going all over the place, and they're unpredictable. And the wind speeds pick up, and
You've been dragged across a field in a basket during the winter, which the basket is filling up with snow. You've also had an experience where you went over someone's field while they were spreading manure. Tell us about that.
well, we came in for a landing, and I was looking down, and I couldn't tell if it was fresh manure on the outskirts of this meadow, and then I saw a tractor with harrow, so it was looked like it was freshly harrowed. And as we're coming down to touch the ground, and my passenger says, "Oh, here comes the shit truck." And sure enough, the guy pulls in, backs up, and then heads right for us and turns it on, and just not missing a beat, coming right for us. So,
Did you get any shit on you?
nope, I
Get the hell out of there.
lifted back off again to get away, and just laughing at it. It was like,
Wow.
and he's waving at us as we're lifting off. And
Wow. Tell us about the Post Mills Museum, the airport, the museum where Brian Bolin lived and loved life with his lady Tina, and what Tina's doing today.
well, it's the Museum of Brian's Rusty, Dusty Stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I mean, it's
There's little fire engines in there.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
yeah.
All the stuff in there.
Yeah, he's a collector. Just some amazing stuff that he's come across over the years. And these are like people have favorite cars, antique cars that they love.
Sure.
He loved the Messerschmitt. He's got one of those.
Tell me about that. That was what, 1955 ish.
Yeah, I don't know, but
think.
he loved those. Of course, he had to have one. And
What is it? It's a car. It's a car.
car, yeah, it's a little teeny car, and I don't know much about him, but he flew it, and it's like I think that's where he got the design of all his little jitneys, he called them, that he when he bought all the Wildfire scooters that he tore apart and built these jitneys
Yeah.
that he flew into the basket, and they were all functional. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, most balloonists will have a basket underneath them, and he had God knows what, even kayaks,
kayaks, canoes,
cars,
picnic tables.
picnic tables, picnic table with a grill attached.
Yeah, beds.
You could do some grilling up there at 8,000 feet. Yeah, a bed.
Oh my gosh.
He had a bed.
Yeah.
Did you ever fly in anything other than a basket?
Yeah.
You did with Brian.
Yeah.
Like what?
There was the kayaks, the car, and the Land Rover.
A Land Rover. How did that go? That's a heavy rig.
Yeah, that didn't go very well. The framing kind of cracked as we were lifting off.
Did he take the engine out of it first?
No.
Oh my God.
No, that was one of the things that Brian did. My friend Gary pulls up, he's got a little 2-seater car, and Gary was talking to Brian, and Brian walked right by him, opened the car door, and was looking at the weight of the car, and he's like, "We can fly that."
Oh, jeez.
What about a bathtub?
Oh, that's when he met Tina. I guess he landed next door to Tina's where she lived.
Yeah.
And invited her over to lift the bathtub and put it on the roof of the museum.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And the gazebo?
Yeah, that was flown up via balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian very much wanted a absolutely picture perfect Christmas tree one year. What did he do?
Well, maybe I shouldn't say this on the air. He took his balloon and cut the top of a tree off.
And the property owner wasn't overly
No,
filled
but-
with the Christmas spirit.
Well, it was all fine once Brian got back down to the ground and went and talked to the guy.
Wow. What do you want to do with your? And I'm going to ask you about this big jump that you did out of the balloon when you skydived. But what are you hoping to do with your passion, your love for ballooning? Obviously, to carry on Brian's legacy with not only loving what you're doing, but Brian also loved to share that love with others who were experiencing it for the first time?
Yeah, I'd like taking people up just to, especially the people that are like, oh no, I'd never do that. That's too scary. And then once I talk them into it and get up there, they're like,
Once
oh,
he
wow.
talks him into it.
Yeah, well, it talks them into it, right? Of course. Kids, so many of us, when if we have the opportunity to see a balloon come down in a field or whatever, my God, we are so happy and excited. I remember as a kid jumping out of the car, running across. Can we help? Can we help? Can we help?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great.
And that's most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one, for instance, recently we landed in this little teeny field, and then the house across the street, they had I think 3 or 4 kids, and they all came running over and they're like, oh, can we help? And the same thing, and they love touching the balloon. And,
Yeah, right.
Brian did a flight, flights down in Central America. It was called Hands Across Central America, and he would go to schools, and the kids would trace their hand and then put their name on it, on the inside and outside of the balloon. And
That's pretty
balloon
awesome.
I flew that balloon the day after Brian passed away.
You were able to fly the day after he passed away.
I had to.
Wow. Where was Jordan during all that? Was he up here in Vermont?
No, he was, I think, in Arizona. He was flying commercial balloons in Arizona at the time, and going to flight school
Okay.
for planes.
Wow. They're making a documentary about
Yes.
Brian, and there was another one that you said that's already kind of been out, and you told me it, and of course I didn't have a pen in my hand when we went up that morning. That there was something. Well,
I'll think of it.
yeah. When you think of it, let me know. I'd like to pull that up and drop a link on here.
Yeah.
Is it the link you posted the other day?
No, that was just,
Something different.
yeah, someone.
Because I
that
posted
was
that one.
during the balloon meet after.
You have some technology, some instruments, mostly in the way of your phone, which will show you wind currents and speed and direction is everything.
Yes.
What happens if the phone slips out of the hand? And has that ever happened?
Yes, that's happened.
Then it's gone.
That's why I have a lanyard.
Wow.
But when I flew with Brian, when I was in training, we had nothing. Had no instruments, no phone. We just called flight services before we take off, and they'd give you the wind directions and cloud cover, and basically weather information for flights.
What kinds of things would Brian say to you when the two of you were up in a balloon? Was he always teaching? Giving advice?
No, he was always on the hunt for something else for his museum.
Looking over the edge.
One of his famous sayings that I'll never forget was when we were trying to land. I was trying to land. He told me, he says, "Don't mamby-pamby it. Get this thing to the ground." And I'd have to vent really hard to get it down to. I have a tendency to overburn because of being a skydiver and paratrooper. When you come into land, you kind of glide in. Where the balloon, you can't do that because the winds will blow you all over the place.
Oh.
So if you got a spot and you got winds, you got to vent and drop down and get out of it.
So how do you know when you're inflating, you're getting ready to take off on a flight? How do you know? All right, I need to get in the balloon because if I don't, I need to get some weight in the basket right now.
Yeah.
How do you know that you're at that point?
Well, as the balloon starts standing up, I start getting in the basket when it
Okay.
starts standing until it's completely upright. Then I'm totally in.
Have you ever had the wind decide that she's going to go without you?
Not like that. We have a tie-off, a safety line, so it won't.
Yep. Okay. See, this is amazing. That's amazing. And then once you unclip that carabiner, you're gone.
And then you go. Yeah.
It's fascinating. That's
Yeah,
absolutely
and it's on
fascinating.
a quick release in case something unexpected happens.
Right. So, as a skydiver, you introduce yourself to Brian Boland. You get talking. You get your relationship going. Everything's going well. He finally decides. Has he ever allowed anyone to jump out of one of his balloons?
A long time ago, I guess he had one jumper jump.
Okay. So, what was the plan for you and Brian?
Well, the plan was that we were going to go up. I was going to jump out of the balloon, land back at the airport, jump in the chase vehicle, and then chase the balloon down.
There's the plan, and then there's what happens, and they're often very different. Okay, that's a very simple plan right there.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
It was doable, but everybody was trying to talk me out of jumping out of the balloon, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen because I'd never jumped out of a balloon before.
Well, is it really a huge difference? I mean, because it must be, because when a balloon is pretty calm, not moving really fast, and a plane is hauling ass.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's got to be different.
Yeah.
a balloon is like a base jump, where
Yeah.
you're standing still and all of a sudden you start accelerating, as opposed to a plane. You're already at 100 knots, and then you start you transition from forward to down.
So a balloon is considered a base jump.
Yes.
You're jumping from a base that happens to be floating in the air. Okay, a floating base.
Correct.
So it had to be the perfect weather, and I'm guessing everything had to be.
Yeah.
The boxes had to be checked.
Yes.
All right. So you took off from Post Mills.
Yep.
You and who else in the basket?
There was Brian, Tina, my girlfriend at the time, Terry, myself, and this other kid with the video.
All right. So good sized basket.
Yeah.
All right. So you go up how high?
We went up to 8,000 feet.
All right. And the other day when you took Raylene and I up, we were at how much?
I believe it was about 1,200 feet, I think we went to.
All right. So 7 times more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What wonderful. So all right. So you get up there, and you said that Brian got very quiet.
Yeah. He was a little bit nervous because now we're friends.
Which you warned him about.
Yeah. And, other than people trying to talk me out of it, there wasn't much chatter going on.
Was Tina Was Tina one of the ones trying to talk you out of it?
No, she didn't really say much.
Okay.
It was, basically my girlfriend at the time.
All right. So what was the reasoning behind trying to talk you out of it? Was it wind? Was it?
They were concerned that my chute might not open up.
Okay. Tell us about that shoot. It was new.
Yeah, and it was
First time jumping with it?
yeah.
Why not pick a hot air balloon?
Yeah, and it was designed to open a little slower than most. And I learned that it does open slow, especially at sub-terminal when you're not doing the terminal velocity at 120. And it just kind of slowly opens up.
Started to unfurl itself.
Yeah. I had to help it a little bit.
Please,
You're shaking. You're shaking. You're trying to help the parachute
Yeah.
unfurl as
Yeah.
you're falling.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I got the rest of my life to open
Yes,
it.
you did. Yes, you did. Did you? Did it? Were you closer to the ground than you wanted to be when you finally?
No,
got
I was
left?
actually way high
Okay.
than what I expected.
Okay.
And well, before I jumped, Brian's like, "Yeah, you see that metal way over there?" He says, "I land there all the time with a balloon." Well, not thinking that you can drop down anywhere with a balloon. It doesn't have to be flat and level, but with a parachute, you want it to be flat.
As flat as possible.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you're coming in at 20, 30 miles an hour. And I flew over it, and then I noticed that there's power lines going across the road. And the metal wasn't very big when I got to it, and so I went over, and then I was trying to judge it. I only had one shot, and there's no other outs other than this field. So I had to, try to come in and make it happen. Otherwise, I'd be in the trees. And I overshot the power lines, so I was nervous about hitting them. And then noticed I was too far. I was going to be in the trees, so I did a hook turn and came back. Which, doing a hook turn, you pick up a lot of speed for when you come into land.
Like double,
Yeah.
I think you were telling me.
Yeah.
Double the speed.
Yeah. And
So you're barreling ass with a piece of nylon above you, trying to
Yeah.
miss the trees and the power lines.
Yeah.
And what happened?
well, I ended up hitting the ground, and I was on my butt skidding up a hill and towards a house. And there was a bluebird house on a metal pole
Yeah.
that I was headed right for.
Of
and
course.
Ultimately, when I stopped, the bluebird house was right between my legs.
Wow!
And then the people of the house, they come out and they're looking at me as I'm gathering up my parachute, and they're looking at me, and then Brian was coming down with the balloon, and they're looking at the balloon, looking at me. And then they're just shaking their head, and they turned around and went back in the house.
I would have come out and shook your hand. I would have been down on my knees praising you. That's incredible. So if you wanted to do that again, if you wanted to jump out of a balloon
Oh,
again,
yeah.
are you going to?
Maybe at some point.
Would you swear to me, promise me live on the air right now, look me square in the eye, that you'll promise to let me know when you're going to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
So that
Please.
you can film. Yeah.
I would be so honored to be part of that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you have a couple of GoPros?
I've got one,
How old are you?
57.
Are you? Oh my God! Are you okay? So, are you gonna cool your jets here for a little while? Or are you gonna still do it?
Why?
Are you gonna relax? Just stop this foolishness?
That is relaxing.
Wow! Wow! Have you ever dragged your balloon basket across the top of a cornfield?
Well, not when they're fully grown or anything like that, no.
Yeah. Or
He doesn't want to get shot.
yeah, well, that's true.
You be respectful for the landowners. You
Yeah,
know, you don't
of
want
course.
to be damaging their crops or anything like that. You know, sometimes when we land, like we have red zones up this Middlebrook Road. When we land, you kind of damage the grass.
Yeah.
And they hay it
Sure.
to feed the cows. So you
Yeah.
gotta be respectful for them. They don't want you doing that. So.
What's the longest flight you've ever done in a hot air balloon?
Well, that one that I flew from Crown Point to Piermont, and then we did another one a couple days later from Post Mills to Lake Winnipesaukee.
Wow. Could you see the ocean?
Yes.
You could.
Yeah.
Have you wanted to go further to the east?
Yeah. Well, we had thought that we were going to head to Maine. We brought an extra tank just in case, but we decided once we got over Lake Winnipesaukee that we would kind of call it quits somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And we did a touch and go in the lake. Just
You did.
it was in the spring where the ice was melting, so we had to
it's
hit the
fantastic.
open water.
Wow. Brian is flown all over the world. New Zealand. I mean, he's gone everywhere. And what's the longest flight that he's ever done? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. I know he did one from Post Mills and went to Maine. Above the Lost World is the
Yep. That's the documentary.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have any goals for, like, you want to do so many hours in a balloon, or you want to go so far, or
Got introduced to that flight from Crown Point. That was really cool, and I'd like to do a long distance flight at some point.
further than that?
Yeah.
But with west-east winds, you can only go so far because you've got the Atlantic sitting there waiting for you,
Yeah.
which is a whole different bag.
Yeah.
Currents and air currents and whatnot.
Yeah, there's some stories that I've heard. I'm not exactly sure where they were, but I think it was a wedding, and what they did is they took off from the shore flew out over the ocean, got married, came back, and then landed back on shore.
Oh, that's crazy.
But I want to go attempt to fly over the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That would be pretty amazing.
I heard you
That
chatting
would be
a
amazing.
little bit about that. So what's the deal with that? You know someone out that way.
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
John Rodowski. He's the owner of the Rainbow Riders
Okay.
balloon club out there, or balloon business.
Okay.
And occasionally he was saying that it's like a spur of the moment thing. It's like the wind has to be just right in order to do that.
Okay.
And it's,
Very narrow window.
Yeah. And it has to be like the day before or something like that.
Are you packed and ready to rock and roll?
Well, he was telling me it's going to be right around September, October. So
Okay.
I may be ready to go do it then.
Wow. It's fascinating to hear that you're afraid of heights, but you're a hot air balloonist.
Yeah, I think it's more of a respect for heights these days.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you're an artist?
I don't know.
I think you're an artist. Is there anything else that you love to do that you have passion behind?
Well, I mean, I like to be out in the water, canoeing, hunting, and fishing.
Yeah.
But skydiving and ballooning, scuba diving.
And you make these you're craftsman with wood, right?
Yeah.
What is it that you make?
Currently making wooden bowls. Yeah.
The pictures that you've shown me, I mean, are just stunning. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's just incredible. Do you sell that kind of? You sell that art?
We give them away.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I really want to get Lily over, my little 8-year-old, to maybe tether, if I can get Mom drunk enough, or self-medicated, but at least to just be there for the experience of inflating the balloon,
Yeah.
and watching you take off would be fascinating.
Yeah.
When can we do that? Anytime.
Whenever. Yeah. As long as the weather's good and we're flying, it's
Amazing.
yeah. Doing a tether, the winds can be a little bit higher, but still can't be high.
Yeah, right. There's so much science
And in the summer.
behind this.
You're going to have to get the whole family up in there, as you know,
The ass crack.
the ass crack of dawn. And
Well, in the wintertime, the evenings the winds start calming down, and we got more daylight to work with.
Have you ever had property owners get upset with you that you've landed on their property, or has Brian?
Yeah, there's one in particular that Brian, experienced it before I did, but then I just flew over her house, and she was, yelling and.
How could you be upset by something? Like, whoever that lady is, she's an asshat. She should have been thrilled. She should have had her camera out. My God, I would have been so happy.
Yeah, well, she's just a miserable person, I guess.
I guess
Yes.
so. Right. You got a hot air balloon flying over you? Wow.
Yeah, most people, they absolutely love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely, it's something to be in awe over, I would think.
Are you going to be at the Stowe Hot Air Balloon Festival? Are you going to be at the Queechee Balloon Festival?
I'll be helping out at the Queechee Balloon Festival.
Okay.
I've actually never been to the Stowe Festival. I'd like to go up there and experience that.
There's one in New York, too. That's
In Glens Falls, yeah.
Glens Falls, where they do nighttime burns and stuff. Glows.
Yeah.
So what is that? Explain that to me.
You just inflate the balloon, and we have a secondary burner that is brighter than the main burner.
Yeah.
So it makes the balloon glow from the inside out, like a light bulb.
Yeah, it's amazing. If you
I watched some videos of it.
yeah, I was
actually.
going to ask you if you've ever seen that at night. It's amazing.
Well, I've seen it at Queechee. I've gone down to, that's the first time I ever went to a balloon fest. And
Yeah.
so I've seen, at night, not pitch black, but, they were up there in the evening. But,
Yeah,
and
and they
it was
put-
gorgeous.
They play music, and then they're supposed to burn at the tempo of the music.
Like Waltz of the Flowers type stuff? God,
Kind
that's
of.
crazy.
Well, that's the videos that you can watch are like that. It's pretty awesome, actually.
Have you ever been up in a balloon, a hot air balloon at night?
I actually, one of my flights when I first got licensed, I had a couple of passengers, and I flew a little bit longer than what I anticipated, and I came down. It was just getting dark when I finally landed. But I've never been up at night. No, they have a dawn patrol, but you have to have lights that hang down below the basket 20 feet.
Okay.
And then you take off before daylight and fly into the daylight. They call it a dawn patrol.
Before daylight and fly into the morning sun. Okay.
Yeah.
Into sunrise.
Yeah.
Interesting. Not the other way around.
No.
Yeah.
No, because visibility is when you come into the land. You want to see the power lines and trees, because even during the day, power lines can be pretty much invisible until you're right on them.
Yeah. Tell us, and I know you have so many stories, and we'll wrap up here. But tell us about the weather vane on top of the church steeple there at Post Mills.
Well, that was one of Brian's objectives. He always said that if he could fly to that weather vane and put a glove on it, then he'd quit flying. He's done everything. Done it all.
And did he?
No. But one day, in my training, we were flying, and we landed because I have to do practice landings, and then he gets out of the basket and goes back to the airport, and he's going to chase me, thinking that I'm going to continue to the north, and I flew back up in the air when he left, and then I started heading back to the airport, and I went right back to the weather vane, and I had just bought new gloves, and I didn't want to give up one of my gloves to put it on the rooster. So I took a picture of myself touching it.
Was he must have been like, "You son of a bitch."
He didn't believe me at first, so I showed him the picture.
Wow. He was such a fascinating individual. I remember when I was I don't know, I had to be 6 or 7 years old, 1977. So I was 7 years old. He was in his late 20s. I don't think he was even 30, and he was creating this small balloon that I think he had it powered with a super hot light bulb, if I remember. And he needed, he went up to this recreation area in Connecticut, and I just so happened to be there, and he was our neighbor, so we knew him well. He pulls up in his VW bus,
Yeah.
and he opens up the back of the bus, and he's like, "All right, I got to do this quickly. Before the police get here. I need a kid who's exactly 65 pounds or whatever the weight was." And I'm like, well, my mom was like, well, I think he is. And he's like, well, let's find out. Grabs a scale, pulls it out of he had a full size, like medical scale. Pulls that out, puts it in the parking lot. I step out, and he's like, perfect, get in the bag. And my mom's right there, like, what the hell?
Signing her
here?
consent.
I don't think she signed a damn thing. But he had this like nylon bag, and I got in the bag, and he's like, all right, look, don't move around a lot. I'm going to send you up. I got to send you up a minimum of 200 feet and hold you there for a certain amount of time, and then I'm going to bring you down and pack my shit up, and I'm out of here quickly. This is, it wasn't even 1980 yet, so, it was a different world.
Yeah, some of the stuff that we've flown, we usually wait till we got a good cloud cover so you can't see it from above.
Oh, my God. That's amazing. What's it like to fly above the fog?
Well, it's pretty cool. It's, when it's kind of dark down below, and then once you pop through, and all of a sudden it's all
Amazing.
bright sunshine.
Amazing.
But you can't. You have to be able to see the ground.
Yes.
Right.
Legally. So why are you helping at Queechee? Why aren't you going to be flying at Queechee?
You have to be a commercial pilot, and because they want to make money, and I have to have paying customers. I'm not a commercial pilot. So.
Understand. Maybe we could come and help too.
Oh, it's fun. I mean, there's always the need
You were
for
great
help.
at towing us.
Yeah, I had to pull you across a little field there. It's just and you were like a foot off the ground.
Yep.
You really have to understand this burner and how it works, and just predicting everything and wind and all that is amazing.
Yeah.
But you like a little bit of wind, though. You want some wind.
Yeah. It's just nice to be able to go up and to go someplace.
Yeah. And you've gone up without chasers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So how's that work? You come down and hope that you have cell service so that you can call your butt?
Cell service would be optimal, but then you just
Have you ever had to pack up your shit, leave it there on someone's property, and
yeah, that's what we do. We leave it there and
hitchhike,
and then you get a ride back, get my truck, and then we go pick it up.
Would Brian actually limp with his crutch when he?
I never witnessed it, but I don't know.
Above the Lost World was one of the documentaries, and I guess they're trying to make a new one right now.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. This one was just of Brian. The Above the Lost World was he and his wife Kathy. I don't even know where it was taken, but it's a pretty amazing footage.
Fascinating.
I'll have to check it out.
Fascinating. It really is. We can't thank you enough for taking us up in the balloon the other morning. What was it, Saturday morning?
Yeah,
Absolutely
I'm glad
amazing.
you guys could make it up.
It was just magical. To look over the side of the balloon at a propane tank, and then underneath it is a pasture that's over 1,000 feet or more below you. To see that is something that was fascinating for me, and I hope little things like that never become just ordinary for you, that you're fascinated by even the little things like that.
Yeah, well, I love it, and I love taking new people up just to experience it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I would have done anything he asked me to do, by the way. I mean, it's just, he was like, pull this thing out and stretch it out and whatever. I would have run and got you a cup of coffee. I would have done anything. It
Right.
was,
You wouldn't have been mean like I am and said, get your own coffee.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is how the morning started. Thank you for coming in here, brother. And let next time let's get Jordan here too as well.
Yeah, well, I was expecting him back today, but haven't heard from him. So
Okay. Again, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for taking us up. We hope to have an opportunity to do it again at some point.
Yeah. And stay tuned. Lots coming up, lots of events. I'll be posting all day,
my
as
God.
everyone knows.
There's so much happening.
There's so much happening. And then I am my show. I'm finally going to start my show. So
Yes. Make that announcement,
It's
would
no
ya?
secret. We'll start June 13th at noon. It's Tuesday, and then it will be every Tuesday thereafter at noon. And we're going to talk about everything addiction and mental health and
recovery.
in recovery. And that show is going to be in memory of a young man who just passed, and that I love him and his family with my whole heart. And so in his memory, I'm going to stop being a baby and just do this. And so my first guest right away, Dottie Moffat. We all know Dottie. We know how much I love her. We know how much she has helped me and my family over the last 14 years. And yeah,
Great
I don't know
lady.
what I'd do without her. And then we have a Turning Point Center, Vermont Prevention Coalition, some people in recovery. Yeah.
Some amazing success stories.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
And then Washington County Mental Health will be teaming up with some of that stuff as well. So
I'm so happy. We've talked about this literally,
I know.
3 years?
I know.
So you're finally doing it.
I'm finally doing it.
That's great. Tuesdays at noon, right here.
And it may end up being more. Who knows right now. But right now, I have 14 shows booked. Boom, boom, boom. And we're we're ready to go.
That's 14 weeks
14 weeks.
already, right out of the chute. You haven't even started yet.
No. So, but
Lot-
it's a topic
Lot to
that
be
we
said.
need to, yeah.
You're damn straight. I think it's wonderful. Tipping my hat already to you. It's great. How long is it going to be? Is it noon to what?
Well, probably noon to 1.
All right.
But,
All
it
right.
depends. If somebody's telling me their story, I'm certainly not going to dump the mic and say, okay, it's been an hour, get the hell out of here.
Sure. Let's give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Nelson Ace Hardware, who's right behind you. If you're if you made the horrifically bad mistake by buying a cheap piece of shit garden hose that's constantly getting kinked up and frustrating and getting tangled around shit and the water pressure dies, go over to Nelson's and get a real garden hose, something that's a thicker, higher quality. It's not getting jammed up every now and then, and bug stuff. Black flies are out. They hatched. The mosquitoes are out. They've got all kinds of stuff for bug repellent, for your yard, for your body, for whatever, barbecue stuff, everything. I mean, basically, if you look at Nelson's, it's everything for the inside of the house and outside of the house. So inside, everything you could possibly imagine. Just the kitchen department alone is amazing. Painting, whatever, repairs, plumbing, electrical, all that. And then outside of the house, the grill, the yard, mowers, fertilizers, you name it, even fishing supplies.
Right.
So
If they
you're-
don't have it, you don't need it.
Exactly. Our community calendar is brought to you by The World, Central Vermont's favorite weekly newspaper. And don't miss the digital version online at vt-world.com. But right in the back of The World is the Gunnerbrook Fishing Derby, which is Saturday.
Yes.
That's gonna
Lots
be
of stuff
huge.
going on this weekend.
There's a
actually.
ton of stuff.
So it's going to be hard, and everybody, we need to say this. How we say this all the time, that we cannot be all places, and so
Right.
we have decisions to make, and we'll do the best we can.
Yeah.
And at the very least, we'll make sure that everybody knows about your event.
Yeah, I wanted to get over to the Vermont Granite Museum. They've got their season opening extravaganza on Saturday from 10 to 4. Lots of stuff
We
going
have
on.
the poker run for Stephen Tracy.
That's Saturday.
That's Saturday.
We have the open
Family
house.
Fun Day.
The Family Fun Day with Family Center of Washington County. We have the open house Effecto Homes up at Beckley Hill.
Yes, there's
There's
a
just
lot of
so much
stuff.
stuff.
So we're going to do the best we can.
And you'll have it all posted up on
I will.
Facebook. I think it already is.
Yes, and I have also pinned to the top of the page currently is a way for people to access services, all the numbers that you may need during these releases from the hotels.
Sure. And the kayak raffle this morning, 9 o'clock, they've announced the winner.
Right, so we'll have to figure it out.
We'll
when we
find that out. We'll make that announcement here real soon. But Chamber of Commerce has been raffling off this $1,100 kayak with people buying $20 tickets for the last couple of months. So congratulations to whoever won. And thanks for supporting the Chamber of Commerce. Before I forget, today's Thursday. My God, tomorrow, Friday, June 2nd, Elvis Night at the Billtown Roadhouse with Mark Shelton to benefit the Barrie Area Senior Center. $200 to the best Elvis impersonator. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so much fun.
You gonna give it a try?
No.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm saying no.
Ballooning Elvis.
Oh my God! Thank you for
Is
coming
there
in.
ever
Get all
ballooning?
shook up.
Who knows? All shook up. Oh my God, that was bad. Thank you so much for coming in here, Aaron Johnson,
Thanks for having me.
balloonist extraordinaire, Post Mills, right here in Green Mountain, State of Vermont. We appreciate you, and thanks for coming in here, man.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Be well. God bless. Take good care. And stay cool.